Something terrible happened here.
A master Satanist is not an adversary to be taken lightly.
She's doing it again. She's reaching out to the darkness.
Lorraine, you need to come back. Is saving him worth everything you have? Because that's what it may very well cost.
Lorraine?
The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, the third installment of the Conjuring trilogy. So did you guys watch, well, Josh, I know you've seen them all, but Lamar, did you watch the first two before you watched the third one?
So we watched one, and then I thought I was putting on two, but I didn't know the names of them. So when I put on the second one, it was actually The Devil Made Me Do It.
Uh-huh.
So we started watching, and then Katrina was like, wait, I seen this before in the preview. I was like, fuck, that's it. But it was like, it's too late. Like, we got to watch it now. So I watched it from one to the first one and then that one. And I think that's what made me make my decision on how I felt about that one. I think it would have been a different decision had I watched them as they came out.
Okay.
Or a different opinion.
Okay, well, we'll get into all that because I do want to kind of talk about all of them, but we'll first talk about the third one and just like our overall thoughts of the movie. Mm-hmm. So I'd seen the first one a few times, saw the second one like a couple times. The third one I thought was okay compared to the first two. There were some things about it that I felt were different, which kind of took me out of enjoying it as much as the first two, but I thought it was just okay. So I rated it actually just 2.5 stars.
Wow.
That was my overall thought. So Josh, what did you think of the third one?
Yeah, compared to the other ones, like I used to talk mess about the second one, like how it was kind of slow and I wasn't invested in it. But after watching this movie, I came crawling back to number two, like, hey, I'm sorry. Because part two is not a bad movie. Like part one, I thought was great. Like that was very suspenseful. I was intrigued by it. Second one, it just took a little bit too long, but there were some good parts in it. Mm-hmm. The third one, it was entertaining, I guess, if you have nothing else to do. I give it 2 stars.
Okay. 2 stars. Okay. And then Lamar, what were your overall thoughts?
I watching the first one the first time, that shit was incredible. And I think it played off the fact that it was like when they say based on a true story, that's how you get me in a scary movie, like, oh, this shit could possibly happen. So when I was watching it, it was like it was more about the story than it was about the special effects and shit. Mm-hmm. But watching this third one, it was like, okay, we got all this money, let's do all of these cool tricks. Let's have this kid breakdancing back here on the fucking
like in
table.
The background, yeah.
Yeah, it was like you could tell they got money. You can tell they got money now. So now it's less about the storyline, more about the effects of trying to scare the audience. Where in the first one, just the story alone scares the audience. The shit that's happening it doesn't seem like it's forced. Yeah. So I gave it a 2.5 compared to the first one. I gave it a 4.
Okay, same. Yeah. I did the exact same.
I definitely give the first one a 4. Now, for those of you out there that don't care, fuck it, I'm going to say it anyway. The first two, The Conjuring 1 and 2, were done by James Wan, and then the third one was done by a different person.
That makes sense.
Yeah, who did Curse de la Llorona, another movie within the Conjuring universe. Mm-hmm. And I heard that one that good either, so they gave him this one. Okay. And yeah.
So the directors from the first two were different from the third one.
Yeah. First two was the guy that did Saw, Insidious, and what's it called? Aquaman. Like he's done different types of movies, like the Furious 7. But I guess maybe he's done with horror for now because he just produced these movies now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so for the third one, there was a couple things I kind of caught, and I wanted to bring them up and see if you guys caught it. So in the beginning, when the priest arrives at the house to do the exorcism, it was the exorcist. Did you peep that?
Yeah. I
I said
saw
it
that.
was The Exorcist.
So you know I don't know if it's actually a scene in the movie because I've never really watched The Exorcist, but I know the movie cover. It's the
Mhm.
house, and then it's the priest standing there with like a briefcase, like looking at the house.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, I don't.
So that was
I
like a
was
shout
like,
out to The
yeah.
Exorcist. So I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of dumb. I thought it was kind of annoying. I was like, I see what they were doing, but I thought it was dumb.
It didn't earn it. Like if it was a little bit better, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's cool. But no, they didn't earn that.
maybe if they did it in part one, it would have been more respected. It's like you already all these movies in. Why are you paying your respects now? It's too late. Like you already got your own thing going.
Yeah, your own thing. Like, yeah, you don't have to. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the guy who made it thought like, oh, it'd be cool if we did this scene from The Exorcist.
It seemed like a lot of this movie is, it'd be cool if we did this.
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot of this movie was that.
And it did seem like it was just like a callback or a shout out to the Exorcist movie, which is a big exorcism film. But I was just like, I didn't care for it. And what made it worse was towards the end, the Shining callback or Shining shout out. Did you catch that? Pick up on that at all?
Which part?
When the husband, the main guy, Ed, what's his name? What are their names? Ed Warren.
Oh, when he
had the sledgehammer and he's like coming at her.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I got the Shining feel from that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see
that. What about well, I don't know, has anybody seen Nightmare on Elm Street 4?
I don't know. I might have.
No, this like the guy has a dream.
The waterbed?
Waterbed, yeah, and he comes out of the water.
Katrina pointed that out.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there a Freddy movie with a waterbed? I was like,
yeah.
I think it was.
Okay, so there you go. So it just had a bunch of callbacks or shout outs, whatever you want to call it.
So
this other horror films.
So this director must be a fan of all of these movies, and he's just like, I got the power to put them all in this movie. But it was unnecessary though.
Yeah. And that's kind of what took me out of this one compared to, say, the first one. And also on top of that, what also took me out was, and maybe I just saw it wrong, maybe you guys can correct me, but the first one was a curse that happened like years and years and years ago. And then these different things happened to different people. With this one, it was a human being that did occur, like was casting these spells.
Okay, now that you say that, I wanted to ask you guys, was she a human being?
I think she was, but that's why I said maybe you guys can correct me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I saw her as a human.
That's what I did too, because the spoiler alert, the demon had to take her back to hell, or like a soul back to hell.
This is why I'm asking, because when the dad's waiting for her, right? He's sitting there with the gun. She walks and she like disappears behind him. I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, how did she was walking towards him. And then all of a sudden she's behind him and cuts his throat. I was like, how did she get over there?
So from what I remember, because when the Warren wife, she goes down to the basement, wherever, and it shows the demon woman, whatever you want to call her. She's like walking in front of him, like in a bookcase or something like that. Then it cuts to another scene. And then when it cuts back, she's behind him, cutting his throat.
Nah, it was directed on her, and he's talking to her, and he's holding the gun, and then he's about to put it like towards his head, and then she just disappears, and she's behind him, and cuts his throat. I was like, what the fuck was that? I thought, because I was like, he said it's his daughter, like she has superpowers now.
Yeah, because so he explained it. He said that his wife died in childbirth, and so he kind of raised his daughter just kind of like out of nobody knew about her. And then he started like reading into the occult and studying it and everything. And in turn, she started learning about stuff and got interested in actually like casting like curses and spells and stuff like that.
Right.
So she was human and, but so that's why I was like, she was a human being casting these spells, which kind of took me out of it.
Maybe her like disappearing or whatever has something to do with her being magical or
maybe she was just quick. Maybe she just really
quick. How the fuck did she get back there?
Yeah.
That shit was good.
So that's what kind of made me not care for this one, because the first two were more based on the supernatural part of it. And then this one was an actual live human woman that was doing all of these curses and casting all this stuff for stuff to happen. So
yeah, it kind of just jumps right into it, because the other ones, they kind of build up this is like, you know, nothing really happens, but in this one
it starts off, yeah.
And I was kind of like, it's like Lamar said about like them focusing on the special effects,
right,
and you know, focusing on that more than the story in the first two films. They did a better job.
Yeah.
This one it seemed more like, it felt more like a thriller where they're trying to like solve a case. That's more what it was rather than it being like a supernatural story.
Yeah. Because like I said, they started the other ones with, well, I haven't seen the second one, but they started the first one with based on a true story. And then it seems like this is a story that happened and this weird shit was happening during the story. And this one, it was like straight, like the kid is back there breakdancing. The dude is in jail, like levitating and fucking breakdancing too. It's like, why are they doing all this extra shit? And you can't say that's based on the true story without that story being around. If somebody's levitating in jail and breakdancing, somebody's gonna be talking about that shit.
Yeah. And there was no what do you call it, camera footage, where in the first one,
well, it's older. It's older, so you can kind of be like, I don't know, but still, like I said, that story will be around. You can't say based on true story and that'd be some bullshit. I don't know.
Well, I think all three were based on true stories, right? All three films,
But I don't like, even though they're based on true stories, I mean they have to like twerk it up a bit.
Yeah.
Because I heard, I was talking to Nikki about it, and I heard the Warrens, you know, the husband and wife, wasn't really a perfect marriage. Like I guess he had an affair with the nanny that was living there or something. Like I've been reading about all the stuff that, you know, they weren't the lovable like husband and wife they are portrayed in the movie.
Yeah, right. I mean they exaggerate in everything. So that little piece of it, I don't need their struggling marriage and affairs and stuff like that. I need them working together to solve this stuff.
Yeah,
no, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, no, I don't need
that person. But yeah, like as far as the first and second one, like hearing all the stuff, I'm like, okay, that's a possible thing. But yeah, human breakdancing or doing all that other shit. Yeah, that's kind of like, all right, you're over exaggerating. Or just trying
to like,
too much. Too much.
Yeah, but what I did enjoy about it was the solving the murder, the girl that was missing and the girl's body that they found, and then her going and helping them find the body to get the case files. Like that part of it I enjoyed because I do like murder mystery types stories.
Like Mayor of Easttown.
Exactly. Love that show.
That's a good damn show.
Pretty sure that show's better though.
Oh, definitely. But so that part of the movie I did like, so that's why I kind of rated it as high as I did. But with it being the third one and comparing it, or not even comparing it, but wanting it to kind of follow the lead of the first two, like kind of stick to what they did in the first two, that's what kind of took me out of it too.
And I've only seen one of them, but I could tell a lot of the shit they were doing in this was like a shout out to the other two. Like, didn't one of the families send them flowers? It's like, how convenient is that? Right now, you're getting flowers from that family that you saved. And then when he's walking with the priest under the house, and the priest is like, and they were like, he's like, why don't you burn everything up? And the priest is like, it's like keeping guns off the streets. I was like, okay, it's exactly what he said back at the other. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, stop living off the old shit. Just make it a new story.
So were the flowers from the family from the second one? Josh, do you remember that family's name?
I just
think it started with a P.
Nah, it's been a while since I've seen the second one, so I don't remember.
I think it was the family from the second one.
She's like, the whatever the family was, it started with a P. She was like, look what they sent us. And he was like, oh, how nice of them.
Yeah.
It was like, I didn't know who they were talking about, but I was like, I think that's a shout. Like you could tell how blatant it was. Like, that's a shout out to the other one.
Like, why would they just say a name and expect you to know who it is if they hadn't said it in the third one previously? So.
Yeah, like what happens if you accidentally watch the first one and you accidentally watch the third one, not knowing it's the second one? I mean, like
exactly.
What about those people? Okay.
Exactly.
Well, Lamar, would you watch the second one after watching the third one? Or are you kind of cool?
Oh no, we're going to. Like, I think I'll open up a door with Katrina. She never watched scary movies, and now she wants to watch all of them.
Really?
Oh, nice.
That's why I haven't seen these. She just wasn't with it.
Yeah.
So just a little bit more about this one before we go into the other ones. Was there anything that you liked about it, like that? Like for me, I was saying like the whole mystery and solving stuff was what I what kind of kept me intrigued with the movie. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you guys?
The part where the lawyer, they were saying like, you know, come by, check out Annabelle and see if you change your mind. She didn't want to represent him.
Yeah.
And then then the next scene is with her in the courtroom. That kind of was like, okay. that was cool.
But it was more like okay, so they gave me that. I always go back to that Blade scene. They always give me that, like, giving that energy, like we the shit now. Cause he's like, we're not gonna let him down. We're gonna save him. It's like they're overly confident through this whole movie.
Like when they went to, I think it was Massachusetts, and they were well, I don't know, does it take place in Massachusetts? I don't know, but they go to the police station and they talk to that guy, and he puts the 3 knives in front of her and was like, which one did it? And she was like, this one. So
yeah. And then they're driving and she's like, you missed a turn over there. I talked to Elvis. What is alive and dead? Okay.
I was like, what the hell?
Okay.
I mean, the premise, it seemed like it was cool, but just the execution just didn't really make me invested in it.
This one was more funny. Like it was more of an entertainment aspect rather than scary situation. Oh, this could happen. Like blowing your mind. It was more of a we know what we are type shit. We the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because even Katrina was like, he did the exorcism in the first one, and then this one starts, and he's like, we can perform it when the priest gets here. She's like, well, why wouldn't he just do it? He already did it. Like, why wouldn't he just do the exorcism?
Yeah.
Well, maybe in the second one they explain that. I don't know.
I don't even know what time era it is. Like, I don't know if that was a flashback or
it's chronological.
Okay.
So like the first one took place in what was it, the 50s?
I think it was the 50s, yeah.
I know this one was 81. And something bothered me about the love story. So I was like, that doesn't add up to how old they are. When she's telling a love story about how they met, she was like, that's 30 years ago. I was like, these motherfuckers look 60 years old. Like, in that love story, they were teenagers. What is she talking about? That kind of bothered me, but and I get the Shining thing because that was kind of goofy, and it was kind of goofy that she was laying right in front of the thing behind her, and he just slams it on the altar.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's on top of her, getting ready to swing at her, and all of a sudden then he starts like getting through.
Yeah, but
it's just coincidence.
I think in the first one, because they have the mother was being possessed and attacking her kids,
and that was more like fucked up. That's what I'm saying.
That made me like, oh shit, yeah. This one, I was,
yeah. With this one, it was the curse was you kill somebody and then you have to kill yourself.
Right.
That was this curse.
And then they curse him with this perfectly made vase that she built the sculpture and then she made the vase around the sculpture. I was like, this woman is great. I mean, around the vase.
Maybe she wasn't human.
I don't know. Just go back to that scene so you can see what I'm saying. Because she's walking calmly, and then she just like goes into a shadow and she just appears behind him. There's no footsteps or nothing. She just appears. I was like, is she a ghost? And she's hella, she's like same age as him. He's like, it's my daughter. Like, this woman is hella old.
Yeah, and then so you said he had a gun to his head, so he was going to kill himself.
He was going like I'm assuming he was going to lift to his head because he's holding it like while he's talking to her, and he motions to lift it, and then that's when she appears behind him and cuts his throat.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, why would she kill him? Where the curse is, you kill somebody, then you kill yourself.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Unless he was going to kill himself, and doing that might have caused a problem, or he was going to kill her, so she killed him first. I don't know. And
something that bothered me was when the husband figured it out and she was at the priest's house, he locks the door. I'm like, oh, is he part of the shit? Because like they made it seem like he was like involved in everything.
And then I thought that's where it was going to.
Yeah, and then he helps her. I was like, you could have just did that in the first place. Like, why are you telling her all of this story? And then you like go down there and break the temple. You could have been did that. You know what I mean? Like, why are you wasting time?
And she was really trying to turn it over. And it was like, it's not moving. Like, what are you doing?
Me and Katrina both at the same time. I was like, why don't you just knock everything off? Like, why?
I said the same thing. Just start scooting everything off the top.
I don't know. They cared less about the story, more about the effects.
Yeah.
Now, when you say that, yeah, I can see that. But I did.
But
I did want to like it.
I think
more.
I wouldn't have cared, or I wouldn't have paid as much attention if I watched it as they came out, because they probably built up to this.
The third one?
I don't think so.
No,
I
I'm
don't
saying
think it
if
would
I
have
watched the
changed.
first one, so you guys had the same feelings, like, oh, they care about the effects more.
Well, yeah, no, I was saying that
Yeah.
since you say it now I could see
Oh,
it.
okay.
It makes sense. Yeah.
But-
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to. I kind of want to call it a cash grab because it seems like that's what they were focusing on.
It does
Especially
sound
because
like
you
that.
did say, Josh, you did say earlier that there's a universe. There's there's the Conjuring, there's Annabelle,
Yeah.
Curse of
They were
La
sure to-
Llorona.
On that,
They were sure to show all of that when he went into that room with the trophies. They made sure to show the nun on the wall and
And
everything. Like
Annabelle.
all the movies are here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see the cash grab thing. I definitely see what you're saying, Lamar, about focusing more on the special effects. But I didn't trip off of that because I had the other issue with it. So now that you say that, I do see that. But I think even if you would have watched the other two when they came out, you still would have felt the same way. So I don't think the timing, it's just the movie itself that's the problem.
Yeah, because you saw the first. So are you saying like if you would have saw the first two when it came out, you might have liked this one too, or?
I mean, I wouldn't have paid attention, like the transition into when you got more money to make the movie. It seemed like they were starting with an idea in the first one, and then this one they're paid, so they're like, we can pretty much do anything we want. We already got the cast, so it's like, let's just work on these special effects. Let's make it to where you're not just holding him down. Now he's pop locking and twisting his head for no fucking reason. Like there was no reason for it.
Now, in the second one. Tosh, you remember the nun, right?
Kind of, because I was kind of checking out here and there as I was trying to watch it.
Watch the second. Yeah, it is a slow movie. Like,
wait, you said the second one or the nun?
The nun was in the second Conjuring. The movie The Nun, I didn't.
Okay, so are you talking about? Did I watch this? Do I remember the second Conjuring, or do I remember?
Yeah,
the
you
nun?
remember the nun, the character, the nun in the second Conjuring.
Yes, but what movie are you asking me about?
Conjuring 2.
Okay, yeah. What about it?
Yeah. So that character wasn't in there in the original cut. Like James Wan did the movie, they finished wrapping up. He's like, hey, I want to add something. And they're like, okay. They gave them the money to do reshoots and add the character in. So it's kind of like he focused on, making a good story, a good movie. And then afterwards, like, hey, I want to add something new to this, to where this one is just
because he had
going
another
all
idea.
out. Yeah, and the production company, or who, I forgot who did it, was it New Line or WB, whatever, felt confident enough in him to be like, all right, then we'll give you more money and more time to do it.
So the nun was an afterthought. The character of
was an afterthought.
Valak.
Yeah, and it was another iconic heart character as like Annabelle was.
Yeah.
So it seems like he knew what he was doing, and like I always say, focus on the story and then add like other characters or special effects. Yeah. Not just effects. Yeah.
Do you know, Josh, if they intended on making the second one, or was it, the first one was such a hit, let's make a second one?
Shoot, I think after that bullshit ass movie Annabelle came out and that was a success, they probably like, hey, let's make some more. Because I don't think he was planning on making a Conjuring.
A second Conjuring.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was going to say, sometimes that happens where the first one is so good and it, it's a hit, then they kind of go off of that to make a second one, and it's not always as good. But now with the third one, I feel like the second one, like you said, Josh, earlier, it was better.
Yeah.
And it also went with the whole, how the first one was. Like the same kind of energy, the same kind of story, where it's all paranormal.
Yeah.
It wasn't a human casting these curses and stuff.
that was a little bit different. I haven't looked up at the real cases, but yeah. Because that's a real case. The guy that was what's his name? Arnie, yeah. This case. But I didn't look into it to see if
I just saw what they showed at the end. The real pictures and stuff like that. But the first one and the second one did the same thing. Where they showed actual pictures and stuff.
I think they're gonna keep this shit going as long as they get paid, because it's like there's no other scary universe right now. Like they are it basically. Like nobody's doing the like. You remember how you had a Freddy, then you got one every now and then. There's always a Freddy coming out, or every now and then there's always a Jason coming out. I think they are that right now. So they're like, as long as so that's why they don't give a shit about story no more. We care about story. But the young people are like, oh, that shit was scary. Oh, when they did this, they're gonna be talking about this kid, and he was doing that. Like, what about the story? You don't care about the story. He was scared.
What the fuck's the story?
Yeah.
Who watches movies for the stories?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I understand there's some people who like to be entertained, and I don't mind a pointless movie, but I gotta have fun with it. Like, it's gotta be, you know, this one I think maybe he thought he had something good on his hands. Like he'd be like, oh, it's cool if we do this, and then do a reference to this movie.
I think I wouldn't judge it as hard as if this was the first movie. Like, but you come from a great story to this, so now I have something to compare it to. Like, oh, you did that first.
Yeah.
I think to me it just makes it worse. Like, I think this one came out first, and I saw it like, just a generic horror film. But then now there's two movies in front of it that are like better, more superior. Then I'm like, yeah, fuck, man.
Well, I think Lamar is saying if this one was the first installment,
right? If the other two didn't exist, and they just came out with this, I think I wouldn't judge it as hard as I judge it.
Okay, yeah.
It would just be a movie. It would just be like, and then I probably would have respected this more. Like, oh, that kid was twisting up. Like, you know what I mean? I would have respected it more if it was like an original idea. But to come from that, to come from all these saws and make Spiral, you get what I'm saying? To come from this great thing to make this, like, and you're just gonna throw it in my face like I'm just gonna accept it? No, you know what I mean?
I think that's what I meant. Like, that's what makes it worse for me, to where, like, you know, comparing it to all the other ones, it's like, you know, this movie's not good, to fuck this movie compared to all the other ones, you know. No, I get what you're saying. Like, if this came out first, you're probably okay, yeah, that's all right, you know. But to me, I would forget about it completely. If it even compared to like a lot of other ones.
Yeah, because you're gonna forget about this either way. Like, even though it came out with the other two.
Yeah. This one's a wash.
Yeah. There's only 3. Well, I've seen like The Nun, Annabelle. I haven't seen Curse of La Llorona or the third Annabelle film, but there's only like 3 films I would recommend in this so-called universe. Yeah, which is like the first 2 Conjuring films and Annabelle Creation.
That's the second one, the second Annabelle?
It's a second Annabelle, but it's a prequel to the first one. Okay. So the events happen, yeah. And I almost thought about not checking it out because I didn't care for Annabelle.
Right, like, I didn't either.
Yeah, no, but the second movie I thought was done better. And he did Shazam. That guy. It seems like all the Conjuring people
go and do these
comic book movies.
One other thing that I wanted to bring up that kind of bothered me was, and it could be because it was so sinister, which is why she reacted this way, but when they went to the priest's house the first time and he took them downstairs and she was like, I don't want to go in there. Yeah, that bothered me because I was like, she's been so fearless like in the first 2 and now she's scared.
I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to play off the energy of the bad house. That's why she didn't want to go in. Like, she had a bad feeling. Like, she already knew the priest was involved in something he wasn't supposed to be involved in. Yeah, I think that's what they were going for. But I get what you're saying. Like, why all of us? She climbed under a house, but you can't go in this room.
Yeah, in the first 2, she's doing all this stuff, and Ed Warren's like, no, I don't want you doing this, and she's like, fuck you, I'm doing it. And in that part, she's like, I don't want to go in there, and she just looks so terrified like a kid, and I was like, I don't like that.
Yeah. And then something that me and Katrina both noticed when they were doing the exorcism, and he's like, go in me, and then the demon goes in him, and Ed is the only one that saw it. We were like, so nobody in the room heard him say that except him.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I thought I was like, did I miss something? Yeah.
Nobody knew until he comes out of the coma, and the first thing he says is, we gotta warn them. That's the first thing he said. So yeah, like, everybody in the room, nobody heard this. Nobody heard.
Nobody questioned, like, wow, what happened? The kid just stopped being possessed, and then he went into a coma. Like, nothing clicked.
Nobody said, where did the demon go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't take this bullshit anymore. He left. He left and found somebody better. I don't know, but yeah, like, I thought I missed something because sometimes I'll pay attention and like, oh, it's on Instagram, and then I mean, I try not to do that, but I'm like, all right, we let's get to the bullshit, and then get
like and then like, but that's all do with storyline, like in the beginning when they're like, take him upstairs and put him to bed, and then you leave him alone. You know he's possessed. You leave him alone in his room. The pastor's on his way, but you leave him alone in his room.
You get ready to perform an exorcism, but let him go take a nap real quick. He needs to be
by
well
himself
rested.
all the way upstairs with the door closed.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
Oh, so you mentioned the callbacks. Was that a callback to Pet Sematary? When he comes running out of the dark and he stabs him in his leg. Was it a callback?
Nah.
I don't think so. I got something for you, mommy.
Yeah. I mean, if he would have sliced his mouth open and like sliced right here to here, and then sliced his leg, I'd be like, okay, that's a Pet Sematary callback. I don't know. That's debatable. You can maybe it is, maybe it's not.
Yeah, I don't know if there was any other ones. Like, I'd be curious to see like if Nikki and Kenny caught any other callbacks or shout outs to other horror films. Because I just caught those two, The Exorcist and The Shining. And then Lamar, you mentioned Josh, you mentioned The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. That's have you talked to them about the movie yet?
I saw them yesterday, and all they said was, I think Nikki just said she didn't care for it, but she didn't want to get too much into it. So.
Yeah. I heard. Yeah, Kenny told me he didn't care for it either. Like,
hey, they gotta start. Nikki has to start talking about movies she don't care for. We need the breakdowns of why she don't care for it. She don't ever want to talk about it. She has to start talking about it. She'd be like, the movie didn't exist, and I'm not going to talk about it. You can't do it.
I think they might have known that we were going to talk about that next, so they didn't want to get too detailed in it. But yeah, we'll have to have a talk. And
well, she's never going to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, no matter how much we ask. Yeah.
So unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about this one, we can kind of talk about the first one a little bit. We can't talk about the second one because Lamar still has to watch it. But do you want to say anything else about this one before we jump into the better one?
I don't know. Make your money. Get your money. This is the scary Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no more Saws coming out until the last bullshit one. But like, you know how like every year there'd be a Saw movie, or every year there'd be a Paranormal Activity movie. Now there's no other one. So yeah, this is the so-called Conjuring universe where I don't know, like the only characters are the Warrens. That's they're only in like I think the third Annabelle film, but it's not like Marvel universe where they're like interconnecting with all these characters and everything.
You said you haven't seen Curse of La Llorona, right?
No.
You haven't seen it?
No.
I wonder if there's any like mentions of them or if they show up in that one too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll check it out. It's on HBO Max for free, so
yeah. I've been wanting to check it out. I just haven't. But so the first one we all thought was really good. Like I would say amazing. Like it creeped me the hell out. I saw it at the theater, and the scene where the sister's sleeping in her older sister's room, and she goes up to the what do you call it? What is that called? The wardrobe.
Yeah.
And she looks up. Yeah. And that ghost is up there. Oh, that gives me chills still.
Yeah. Well, that whole scene to me, like that girl was acting her ass off because she was frightened. I was like, what the fuck is going on? You know, that shit freaked me out because I'm like wondering.
And honestly, all the kid actors were great in it. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? All the kid actors were great. All of them. Every single one. Like they all did a good job. Like, but you guys know I don't really get scared of these type of movies, but I could see. Like that shit was crazy. She's on top of the chest, just looking down, like and it just fucking jumps down. Yeah. Oh shit!
I would imagine that. I thought they were going to show it. I was like, okay.
The creepiest scene, probably the standout creepiest scene to me is when she's locked in the cellar door, and the boy was like, "You want to play clown?" And then you see the hands come behind her, like I was like, "Oh." That was like the creepiest out of all of it.
That movie got an R rating just because of how intense it was.
It should have.
Yeah, because you like he usually does PG-13, like Insidious was
Mhm.
PG-13, but
Mhm.
this one I don't think there was no violence, there was no gore or anything. Like I think it was just
Slightly.
Well, just when she's being exercised at the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but like nothing too gory. I think that's what I meant to say. Like nothing too.
Yeah.
No.
But
She was
yeah.
just getting banged up. She had all these bruises, and then she got the door slammed in her face, and she went tumbling down the
Yeah.
stairs. Like,
Yeah.
she was getting fucked up.
Yeah.
But the part
I mean,
that was,
it.
go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so I've seen it a few times, and then I watched it this last week, and it still creeped me out. But the scene where the girl's in bed asleep, and her legs get pulled, and then she's like looking
Yeah.
for the ghost, and then it's behind the door, and she's just hysterical, like pointing at it. He's looking right at us, and then it bites her, right?
I would have said that's
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
It
that's the
doesn't
second
bite her.
Would you say the second?
like,
I was like,
slaps
was
the
that the second? Yeah, oops.
one. Sorry.
Yeah, I was kind of like,
I haven't seen it
remember
yet.
that happening in the movie, and then.
But that scene, no special effects, just great fucking acting. Like, cause it's just that moment. It's like you get that feeling like somebody just grabbed my foot. If you sleep, like what the fuck, and you kind of look up, but you don't want to look, and she's actually looking. It's like it's a whole bunch of fucked up shit that plays in your mind, and then she's just sitting there staring at the dark. And the genius is nothing jumps out. She's just staring like you see him. He's staring at us, and then the girl walks to her. You like fuck, something's gonna jump out, and nothing happens.
The door just slams. Yeah.
But in this one, the fucking thing would have came crawling out. It would have stood up, breakdancing, and fucking the head spin. Like it's the genius of those moments. Like you don't need special effects for that to sell the scene.
No,
She sold the scene just by crying. How she was like terrified.
Yeah.
Like,
was it less?
He's
less
staring at us.
That's all you got to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even when they go into that room where all the dolls are possessed, like I felt something wasn't right about that. That was so uneasy. Like
When
the
the dolls
atmosphere.
are possessed.
No, like
what
what they had in the room where they had Annabelle. They had all these things, all these things that are.
When he's showing the guy around.
Yeah, all these things that just like I was like, fuck, I would not want that in my house. If I had a room like that, because they have to bless the room every month or whatever.
Yeah.
And whoever, like the dolls, whoever's possessed has to go into like an item or another thing.
Yeah.
I think they were called totems. Totems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even stuff like that just makes me feel uneasy. Like the atmosphere in both part 1 and 2 are good to creep you out. And that's what you're supposed to do in a horror film. So even something like that, I don't think there was any good atmosphere in the one we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But,
it was like they kind of set up every scene to be like, this is gonna happen in part 3, but part 1 it was like it's all on you. Like all we're doing is showing you the room.
And it was a buildup too, so it was like something would happen here, the dog wouldn't come in the house, the clocks were stopping. And then what I did like too was on the scenes where they were trying to get people to see what was happening, things actually happened. Like it wasn't like something that only the family was seeing and nobody else believed it. Like stuff would start happening, like when the camera started going off as the kid was walking.
Yeah,
because the ghost was
but
with
there
her.
was like so when the girl's crying, like looking at you don't see it. Nothing. We don't see shit, but she sees something. But they kind of just like leave it at that, which is like perfect. Yep. Like I said, we're scared with the girl. But we don't see shit, but we like it's there. It's gonna grab you because the sister because they set it up perfect. The girl walks to the dark and she turns around. Her back is to the fucking shadow. She's like, "There's nobody over here." I'm like, "That you're about to get fucked up."
Yeah.
And we're waiting. We're thinking something's gonna jump out, so we're waiting for something to grab them, and then the door slams. So it's like it tricks you. So it kind of like scares you because you're not expecting that.
And that's the genius of the scene you were talking about with the girl being on top, because we're expecting the same thing. Like she's gonna open the chest, there's nothing there, but then the camera goes up and she's like,
and she's right there.
That's it. I was like, holy shit, they did it. They actually showed it.
The other scene that shocked me when I first saw that was when all the crucifixes are dropping, and then all of a sudden you see the little girl's hair start rising up.
Yeah. I was like, what the
and then the ghost is dragging her around the house.
They had to get the scissors.
That was a trip. Yeah.
The part that made Katrina jump hard is when the cop. You know, the cop never believed anything. But the lady's like, look what you made me do. And then she walks in there and she turns aside. He's like, look what you made me do. He's like, That shit was crazy. But that's the G. That didn't cost anything. Those scenes didn't cost anything.
Nope.
That
I
was
think the most special effects was the all of the stuff that involved them, like the girl being dragged across the room, and then the exorcism at the end because she's in the chair and it's spinning upside down and stuff like that. So that was probably the most of it. But yeah, they didn't have to do a whole lot to kind of like creep you out.
I think because he's so used to doing like a film that didn't have a lot of money, like the first Saw, and then doing Dead Silence. Like he's used to not using a lot of special effects. James Wan, the person I'm talking about. That's how you got to get creative. It's like when you get creative like that, you have a better story.
When you work with nothing.
Yeah. And then when you have something, you don't do nothing. You know, like when you have like, you know, this one, I'm pretty sure had a lot of money. The third movie.
It seemed like it. It seemed like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and they were old too. I was like, they look so old. And he has a heart attack. Well, the demon made him have a heart attack. So.
The first Conjuring came out 2012, right?
2013.
2013.
13, and the second one was 16.
16. And then there's that big ass gap. It was like what, 11? No, wait. How many years has it been? Well, because that doesn't matter.
5.
Yeah, because
5 years.
Yeah, okay. But then again, there's all these other movies in between.
That's what I was about to say. They probably counted those as their standout projects.
Yeah.
And then you can't count 2020 because that kind of messed up a lot of releases for movies or filming movies. So
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, overall part 3 was not as good as the first one, not even as good as the second one.
No.
So like I said, 2.5 stars for part 3, but 4 stars for the first one.
It's time for something new. Somebody else has to drop something new.
Yeah. I'll give the second one. I mean, unless you don't want me to say anything, Lamar.
I mean, you guys already said your opinion on it. It's not going to change. I'm going to watch it and still have my own thoughts.
Okay, because I would give that 3.5. The second one.
Okay.
Just for pacing issues, but it's
what were you giving it before this one? Because you said this one changed your mind on part 2.
No, I mean, I still give part 2 3.5. I just I'm stop complaining about part 2 because after watching this one, it made me appreciate part 2, you know, a bit more. So maybe that is the 3.5. Maybe it would be 3, and then the half comes in to where I appreciate it more. I never try to say it's a bad movie. It was just too slow for me. Like I wasn't invested in it as I was in the first one.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah. Same with the Insidious. Like the second one's good, but the first one was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so and then the ending of this, it was kind of on the same path as the ending of A Quiet Place Part 2. How they have 2 things going on at once, and then this one thing changes both outcomes. Remember, he's like floating, he's about to cut himself in the throat, and then she's about to die because he's gonna hit her with a sledgehammer, and then just one moment changes both of them at the same time. It was like, that's kind of similar.
Yeah. And what was the deal with the priest at the and first of all, where was he?
Something was weird about him. Yeah.
Was he in jail or was he in
he was in jail.
Insane asylum?
He was in jail.
Okay. The priest
was something
like
weird about
terrifying.
that priest. Yeah. Because so remember he called the priest and tell him he needs 24-hour watch, and the priest brings him holy water, a glass bottle of holy water.
I thought he brought him like a knife or something so he can go ahead and kill himself.
That's what I thought, and I think that would have been more interesting. I thought, because remember how he kept hallucinating? I thought he was hallucinating that the priest brought him a knife to kill himself, which would have made more sense. But he just brought him holy water instead of telling everybody like, you guys need to watch him.
And what was he gonna do with the holy water? Like,
no
was he gonna pour it on himself?
I was like, he should just drink it, take a shot of it, get the demon out of him. I don't know. I don't know. Something was weird about that priest, though.
Going back to talking about universes, is this the first time this kind of thing has been done? Like with the horror movies where it was like a universe and you had these different movies within the universe, not so much like a Halloween or a Nightmare on Elm Street, but
you mean where these other movies could be their own movie, but they're part of this movie?
Yeah, like the Annabelle and the Nun and this.
They've tried to do it with like, you know, Dracula and Frankenstein, to where like they've tried to do that like there was crossovers like Wolfman versus Frankenstein or whatever. So they've been crossovers before. But yeah, like this one is what's up?
I think she's talking about stemming from here. Like everything comes from The Conjuring. Like with those, when you do a crossover, it's like I have my universe, you have your universe. Let's work together. She's talking about starting, like The Conjuring started it.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna get at. Is like, yeah, this would be considered like the first like horror cinematic universe. But to me, it's just there's like I said, the Warrens are the only characters, and they're not even in. I don't think they're only in like one other movie called Annabelle, and like in The Nun, nobody from any other movies there except for The Nun. So I guess
the actual demonic character of the nun.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, because you know how they did The Mummy. They did The Mummy with Tom Cruise, and that was going to be the universe. And they were,
but they haven't done it yet, right?
They're not, because it failed. The first movie failed. And they're just
I was kind of excited about that.
I was all for it too, but like I've seen other movies where it's like, man, Dracula Untold would have been a good universe one, because what they were going for made sense, because it was like they all get together to fight a big bad, like the Mummy, the Frankenstein's monster was gonna team up together. Yeah, I heard they were gonna team up together and fight this other big monster or whatever. So I was kind of like, I don't know how they're gonna do that.
What the
fuck? Yeah, if that was the tone, I'd be like, man, they should have done, The Mummy with Brandon Fraser, Dracula Untold, Wolfman with Benicio del Toro, have like do that, and then have them come together, because they've tried multiple times to do it and it never works because movies are flop. Like Bram Stoker's Dracula. I don't know if that was a flop. I don't know if that was a flop, but they didn't do anything else, because that Wolf with Jack Nicholson was supposed to be another attempt at the Universal Dark Universe.
So fucking boring.
Was one.
Wolf.
Oh my god.
I've never seen it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I've seen it, but it wasn't like memorable, and I've never gone back to watch it again. But I thought Wolfman wasn't memorable either.
I thought that was a cool homage to the original one. It wasn't great, but I enjoyed it myself. But I'm not surprised they didn't do anything more with it. So but I think where I'm getting at with like Conjuring is that, in King Kong and Godzilla, what connects them together is Monarch, whatever. It's kind of like there's always a shield. You know how like there's Agents of Shield.
Yeah.
They had Monarch. Even the Dark Universe with the Mummy had their own little shield wannabes.
Well, maybe that's what the Warrens are.
Well, I thought it would have been cool to like in the Nun. I think what's her name? Sister's in it. Something Farmiga.
Yeah, that's her little sister. What is her name? The Warren woman. What's her character's name?
Lorraine.
Lorraine
Yeah,
Warren.
Lorraine.
Yeah. The actress's sister is in the Nun.
Oh,
yeah, but there's no spoiler alert. There's no connection. Like they didn't make her younger version. Or
so it was
like,
for no reason.
Cool. I thought it'd be cool if like you could connect people like that, like they're related to somebody.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were gonna do too, especially since they picked her sister, the actress, to play in that movie. I was like, oh, is that her when she was younger, or like a relative?
Yeah, but they don't do nothing. They don't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So you said the Warrens are not in the Nun?
No.
Why do they have a picture of the Nun hanging in their collection room then?
The Nun.
Oh, that's you gotta watch the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta watch the second one. So the second one came out before the Nun. So I think that's why they did the Nun, to kind of have like when did the whole universe start?
Yeah.
But that's what Josh was saying. He was saying the movie was done, but I think the guy had an idea for that Nun movie, and he's kind of like, oh shit, we got to tie it in here, so it makes sense to come out with it.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, I just think like Annabelle, they introduced Annabelle's character in the first one, and then they made the Annabelle film after that, and then Conjuring, Conjuring, he added the Nun, and then they made the Nun.
They did the Nun.
Yeah, and it's James Wan's character. He made the character up, but he had nothing to do. He only produced the Nun movie.
Oh, okay.
So do you think we're about to get a movie with the witch lady that was cursing people?
Oh god, her backstory. The priest and his wife dying in childbirth and raising her, and her learning the occult stuff.
I can see it happening.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, so I have a question though. So that remember the case she helped the cop solve? Is that part of part 2?
No.
So that case came out of nowhere. He just wanted her help.
It was part of part 3 because the girl killed her friend and then killed herself, and they found the totem at her home.
Right. So do you think they're gonna explore that story? They're gonna pick up somewhere in this movie.
That would be a stretch. I would more so see
Could.
them doing the woman
They
that
could.
was doing the curses.
That's what I think. Because
Yeah.
okay, so they showed the cops sitting there by the water by the shrine.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been for a reason.
I don't know.
I told Katrina, I said they're just trying to show that wrapped up the case. Because they never confirmed that it was the girl. But I can see them taking that and trying to make some shit out of it.
They never confirmed it was her, but when they went to the mortuary,
she held her hand.
So that kind of confirmed to us that that it was that. But what I was gonna say was, or maybe Josh, you can correct me. This one didn't really have any ties to the first two. Rather, except for like the room where they have all the totems and stuff, but there was nothing else really. And then the flowers that were sent by the family.
But wouldn't you say like even part 2 wasn't really connected to the first one?
They had something that connected to the first one. There was something from the first one that they kind of clear up in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, Josh.
It's been a long time since I've seen part 2. I'm just going to take your word for it.
But yeah, so part 2 does have something that kind of touches on something that happens in the first one, but part 3 doesn't do that.
No, like no acknowledging or continuity, as I would call it.
Continuity.
Continuity. Yeah, there's no continuity.
So with that, you could watch the third one without having had seen the first 2.
Okay.
Where if you watch the second one, something happens, you'd be like, did I miss something? And it's because of something from the first one, but I did notice that too.
Yeah. The reason why I'm like, I don't know if they for sure would do a spinoff of that. What's her name? The occult person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because like to me, Annabelle and the nun look creepy as shit. Like Annabelle's a doll, and that was like a highlight in the movie, and the nun was a highlight in the movie. This one was just
she just looked like she didn't have no sleep.
Yeah.
but
she looked like she was tired.
But I can see that. So I can see them taking that preacher story, because remember he was like the exorcist preacher before all of the shit, and he's studying. He's like Ed before Ed, I guess you could say, because he has the collection of all the shit he collected over the years. So I can see them going back and showing his story and showing the little girl learning the shit and seeing shit happening and being part of it. I can see them.
I don't think they should do it, but
they shouldn't at all. But if there's money to be made, I can see them doing it.
If it comes to HBO Max and we want to talk about it,
I'll
check it out. Or if we get a group of people to see it, I like watching bullshit movies with other people to talk mess.
Yeah,
it's a little more fun that way.
You won't watch them by yourself though.
yeah, I'm watching by myself. Like, well, all right, this is boring. This is depression.
But if they go the route, like you said, Lamar, if they go the route where the first one had Annabelle and the second one had the nun, if they do that with the third one, that would be the only one that would make the most sense.
It would be her. And then, like I said, she didn't seem alive. Like no matter what was happening in the movie, it didn't seem like she was really alive. Like it was a lot of supernatural shit she was doing. Okay, so she's walking up to dude. Remember, she's walking up to him, and she's like, "I'm right here," and she comes out the shadow and blows smoke in his face. It's like, how did she transform? Like, what was that about? Remember, she was like, she came as what the fuck is her name? The wife's name.
Lorraine.
She came like Lorraine. And she's like, Ed, I'm right here. And as she steps into the shadow, she comes out, and it's the lady. She blows smoke in his face. How does she transform?
Yeah, I don't know. But also, like, how does she show up at the house and then disappear? Like, so it's either she's inhuman or she's spell casting and somehow is able to like transport. I don't know.
No. All I know is the demon she called dragged her to hell. Or something.
Yeah, the demon came and then she started breakdancing because it was like the demon, you had somebody's soul got to go. It was like somebody's soul has to go to hell.
And the demon looked just like her.
Like a fucked up version of her.
So, yeah, I don't know. So anything more about The Conjuring before we close it out?
I recommend 1 and 2 and Annabelle Creation.
I'm interested
As
to
far
see
as
the
the rest,
ratings. I'm interested to see the ratings on this on part 3. I want to see
Like
if people
just
really
from
like
like Rotten Tomatoes or something like stuff like that,
it.
or
Yeah,
other people's thoughts on it.
I always look at Letterboxd. People talk shit on Letterboxd.
Really, I don't ever look at other people.
I
Yeah,
look
I
at the
don't
comments.
yeah.
They talk shit.
Really,
like they're like blatantly honest. You have people that love it. You have people like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like they're real life honest on there.
I have to start looking at those.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it too. I always when I see a bullshit movie and I hear people say they liked it, I never like. Sometimes it's rare. It's rare when I get like, oh, I see where you're coming from.
Right.
It's always just like, well,
I always read it. The reason why I read, because if I don't like it, I'll read it to see why they liked it. And most of the time, it has nothing to do with the movie. It's like, yeah, because people have been down for so long. Like, okay, so what about the movie?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the people who like The Nun, they just like the character.
Yeah.
In the movie The Nun, you know, the Nun's barely in it, and there's hella predictable jump scares. I think there's like one person I thought was kind of funny, but then like it's another forgettable film.
Right.
Well,
So-
maybe Josh, maybe the nun they're referring to is not Valak. Maybe the nun they're referring to was the nun that's in the entire
Well,
movie.
yeah, but nobody goes to see that bitch because they didn't know she existed. You see The Nun, the preview is the monster from the second.
That fucked up face.
Yeah, you go see this bitch. If I want to see her, I'd watch American Horror Story. You know, I mean, what you're saying is right, Tasha. But if that's what they're going at, I'm like, fuck you. That's bullshit. You know?
That's what I'm assuming that it's supposed to mean. But
I mean, like, you know, go into Jaws, like, oh, you know, it's not about the shark, it's about a dentist that takes care of people's whatever. You know, that would be some bullshit too.
because if you think about it, in part 2, she's not referred to as the nun. She's dressed as a nun, but they don't reference her as nun or the nun. So maybe the nun is about the actual woman who's in the white habit. That's the nun in the whole movie.
That would be a great stupid twist, though. I would say that's
a great stupid twist.
I just fixed the movie for you, Josh.
Thank
I made
you.
you understand. I made you understand it better. Okay, so in closing, if you want to watch Conjuring 3 and you haven't seen the first 2, you can watch it without having seen it, but I would definitely say watch the first one. You can skip part 3. Watch the first one.
Yeah. I would say watch part 3 still.
Watch it first. If you haven't seen the first 2, watch Conjuring 3 first.
First 2, yeah.
Part 3 is not terrible, but it's not the best.
Yeah, it's not as good, especially coming off of the first 2, which were good.
Yeah, I recommend just those 3 movies. And because you know, like I said, you could watch Annabelle Creation without watching the first movie. So I recommend those 3. And if you're like, oh, I'm invested in it, I just gotta watch it because I've seen all the other ones, then yeah.
Then just finish it.
That's how I am. Like, you know, I'm watching all like certain movies. I'm like, it's like watching The Walking Dead. You watch all the seasons, and you just like, I've came this far. That's not a good example because it's torture. Like, I still haven't seen the last 3 episodes. I still haven't seen it. I got 6 more episodes and I'm gonna work on like some editing while I'm watching that.
You have it on background.
Because you don't have to pay all the attention. Like it's an hour long, but you don't really have to pay attention to it.
All you have to do is watch the first 10 minutes. Then when it goes commercial, don't watch anymore. Then come back the last 10 minutes to watch it, and you'll know exactly what happened through the episode.
Not a damn thing.
That's how I said, let's close out The Conjuring, and then we go on a tangent about The Walking Dead.
Okay, we can do that.
No, that's why I compare it to, because that's where we all talked about, like, we came this far. You got to finish.
You can't do that. Don't use Walking Dead because that's like school. You got to use like you got to use like what fucking Game of Thrones.
You're invested, so you might as well finish it.
You're invested.
See it out.
It's good all the way to the end, and then the end, it's like, hey,
it was good. All like.
The last season they basically put somebody in the camera like, hey, so this is what happens. So we're gonna go here. This guy's gonna go here. She's gonna fly the dragon. He's gonna get mad. He's gonna kill her. Then
give a whole play-by-play.
Yeah. What about that Starbucks cup? No, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that. That was an accident. We're moving on.
Oh, you saw that? I don't think they meant for you to see that.
There was Starbucks back in the day. You know, they just forgot about it. It was the first Starbucks ever.
They didn't even have coffee. But it's like, you know, you don't have to see season. You can watch season 3 if you want to know the ending, but that's about it. Don't expect nothing. Or not season 3. Watch the end. So if you watch part 3 of The Conjuring, you'll be like, oh, that was cool, but you ain't like, oh man, I was waiting for that.
Yeah. What I've been waiting for all this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you're in quarantine, you wish for like any type of movie to come out something new.
Maybe this kid would get a story because he was weird as fuck. Even when he wasn't possessed, he was weird as shit.
Damn.
Maybe we'll find out like how he found the totem and how he got cursed.
Did they explain why they picked him to possess?
I don't think they explained any of that.
And
like, why
we're
was
gonna
he
get her
picked?
story.
I want the story like who greenlit this film. That's the story I want to see. I don't know who gave it go.
The people that were counting the money that they made off part 1, 2, Annabelle, and the nun.
Yeah,
there was no connection, huh?
No,
there was no connection between the three
connection
people
was the
that
money.
were cursed. Yeah,
But that's what I'm saying. So that's why I think we're gonna get that story because they didn't give a reason. Because he was like, somebody targeted him, talking about the little boy. And then he gets targeted. I think they got targeted because he was in the business of trying to stop it.
Right. But then why did the other girl who killed her friend?
And I think
targeted?
that's what I think we're gonna get that story.
Okay. Well, we shall see. So okay. That's the end of that. What are we gonna do next? There's 3 movies coming out.
There is. Fast and Furious is coming out.
Not this next week. Wait, hold on, let me see. I don't think that's coming out this next week.
Something's coming out Friday.
Fast and Furious doesn't come out till June 25th, but
okay.
We got the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard.
Excuse me?
Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard.
That's gonna be funny. I don't think we should review it though.
A Pixar movie called Luca.
Oh, really? I forgot about
and
that.
In the Heights. Those all come out this week. Or are out.
Fast and Furious 9. When does that come out?
I'm gonna watch In the Heights.
I am too. Josh might be watching it too.
If you guys want to talk about it for the next review, then I will go see it.
I think it'll be good. You liked what's the play with the white blacks?
White blacks.
What the fuck is that play? The one you love, Tasha?
Hamilton?
Yeah.
You talk like you don't know what that movie is. I thought you
no. I couldn't think of the name of it. I love it. I just couldn't think of the name of it.
I thought it was okay. I wasn't on that. I wasn't on it.
Hamilton was hard.
Mm-hmm.
I like
it's Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
The guy that played Hamilton. He did the show. Josh.
Uh-huh.
Are you interested in watching Blind Spotting, the TV show?
No.
He answered that quick.
Serious as hell.
What if I told you that it's a weekly show?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change his mind.
You want to talk about it?
Only if you're interested in watching it. But it's not because you know how like with them, we had to binge it because it was all released at once. With Blind Spotting, it's released weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Every Sunday.
I mean,
so that would only be an hour a week out of your time that you would have to.